everyone. It is my honor to welcome you to this panel discussion celebrating Pride Month, a time to acknowledge the progress made towards a more inclusive and accepting society. As we gather today, we mark a significant milestone, the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, a pivotal moment in the fight for LGBTQIA+ rights. On June 28, 1969, the Stonewall riots erupted in response to a police raid on the Stonewall Inn, a gathering place for the gay community in New York City. This moment of resistance and defiance marked the beginning of the modern LGBTQIA+ rights movement, paving the way for decades of activism, advocacy, and progress. Today, as we stand together on this anniversary, we recognize the significant strides that have been made towards equality and visibility. From landmark legislation like the Stonewall National Monument designation to increased representation in media and popular culture, the LGBTQIA+ community has made tremendous gains. Despite these advancements, there is still much work to be done. Discrimination and disempowerment continue to affect many within the community, particularly those from intersectional identities who face multiple forms of oppression. This panel discussion aims to explore the complexities of Pride Month in 2024, 55 years after Stonewall, and how we can continue to move towards a more just and equitable society. Our esteemed panelists will share their insights. Throughout this conversation, we also explore ways to harness our collective energy to drive positive change and create a brighter future for all individuals, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. Together, let us continue to champion love, embrace diversity, and build a future where everyone can live authentically and without fear of discrimination. Thank you for joining us in this important conversation. I'll now turn it over to Hira for intros.
Good morning.
Good
I will
morning.
be introducing our panelists. Thank you all for taking the time to participate in this discussion with us. Margarita Diaz is the Director of Health Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity for the Metro Health System. She is a Cleveland native and leader in healthcare for over 25 years, gaining expertise on DEI, cultural competence, health equity, LGBTQIA+, race, and ethnicity. This has helped her develop trusting relationships to improve compliance and positive outcomes for patients, as well as implement strategies that address health disparities and inequities for underrepresented and underserved communities. She has been recognized by Phenomenal Women magazine for her equity work and has many publications. William Marion is the Director of Development with the LGBT Community Center of Greater Cleveland, bringing over 25 years of expertise in sales, business development, and finance. When not working to advance the LGBT Center's mission to enrich the lives of the diverse LGBTQIA+ community through advocacy, support, education, and celebration, he likes to spend time volunteering. Prior to his new role at the center, William was the CFO and co-owner of an independent marketing company in the music industry for over a decade, and recently joined the cohort for the Cleveland Foundation's Foundations in Philanthropy Fellowship Program. Dale Miller is our County Councilman of District 2, working to create positive conditions for job creation, improve human services with a prevention focus, and helping create pathways for workers. Before joining politics, he was a program evaluator at a health center in Nebraska and worked as a psychologist with the Community Guidance Center in Cleveland. As a city councilman, Councilman Miller has many accomplishments from establishing rules under which the council operates today, being the prime sponsor for several significant county charter amendments that were passed by voters, such as legislation that funds the ID Crisis Collaborative to assist very low-income persons in obtaining ID cards. He is currently the chairperson of the Finance and Budgeting Committee, Vice Chair of Public Works, Procurement and Contracting Committee, and serves on 5 other boards. Karen Anderson is the Deputy Director for Resources and Placement at the Cuyahoga County Division of Children and Family Services, DCFS. She and her team are responsible for foster and adoption recruitment, kinship caregiver resource management, contracted placement resources, and supportive services for children and families. Karen came to the county to manage the Partnering for Family Success program, which offer intensive support for families in the process of reunification. Through her work, Karen has gained extensive experience in foster care, adoption behavioral health, youth and family homelessness, and has also helped lead DCFS's work to improve outcomes for the LGBTQIA+ youth in foster care through a national grant establishing the Affirm.me program. Let's give them all a hand.
So before we begin, we have a few housekeeping notes. So you'll hear us use the word queer throughout the presentation. This word is meant to be an umbrella term to refer to the LGBTQIA+ community. This is not meant to be a pejorative term. Also, we're asking that due to time constraints, we try to keep our answers brief so that we can address all the questions that we have. Thank you so much, and let's begin. My first question is for Mr. Marion. Can you please define what LGBTQIA+ means?
Sure. LGBTQ+ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex. Being part of the LGBTQIA+ community means embracing and celebrating diversity, love, and authenticity. It means belonging to a vibrant and resilient group of individuals who have historically faced adversity but continue to push for equality and acceptance.
Thank you.
This question is to all. Please describe what services are provided by your organization. And we'll start with Karen, please.
DCFS, Children and Family Services, is responsible for offering safe services to keep kids safe in their community. And when that's not possible, to remove them and give their parents time to get the services that they need in order to be able to safely parent their young people. While those young people are in foster care, it's really important for us to offer affirming placements for those young people. And so we do that through a variety of ways. We have a project called Youth Acceptance Project that we manage in partnership with Frontline Service. And that is meant to help families who may be coming to the attention of child welfare due to conflict between the parent and child. And so that service really helps parents understand how they can help affirm their child and care for them and respect who they are, and help kids understand that their parents may be just coming along and they need to give them some time and space. We also do a variety of training for foster and adoptive parents through a project called Affirm for Caregiving. We've recently become a national pilot site for a project called Affirm Pro for our professionals to really understand the microaggressions and the needs of young people, intersectionality for our young people who are in foster care, maybe young people of color, may also be gay, lesbian, transgender. And so we really want to work with staff around that. And again, we're piloting a national model. So those are some of the services that we offer internally and then externally to families who are going through conflict.
Next.
Yes, please, thank you.
So the center we offer, we are a community center. So we are open 5 days a week from 10 until 8 p.m. at night. We're open to anyone who wants to come there, whether they're an ally, whether they're a member of the community, whether they're just trying to get away from the weather, escape the rain or the heat, or they just like a place to sit down and have a free cup of coffee or hot tea sitting there. Our areas of focus from a programming perspective is we focus on our Rainbow Pioneers program, which is for our members of our community who are 50 plus, and they meet at the center 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They're for a couple of hours. Then we also have our QU, which is our for our queer youth. It's an after-school program that is there, also has been historically 3 days a week. Starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and running until 7 o'clock at night. And there it is just a place for the youth to come, feel safe, be comfortable in an environment. There's programming that's offered to them if they want it, life skills, things as simple as cooking classes or self-defense, or we've got into financial literacy, teaching them about the things that maybe they aren't getting communicated to them at home. And then our other primary focus from a programming perspective is our Trans Plus group, and that's for members of the transgender and non-binary communities. They meet in the afternoons on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. They're at the center. And then we have Trans Plus East, and we have Rainbow Pioneers East, which meet in the city of Cleveland Heights at different locations. So we've been expanding. That's something we've added this year. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our amazing partnership with Metro Health, who has one of their Pride clinics right based inside of our building, which allows those patients to come straight in to see their regular provider that they would see from Metro Health, but to see it in our building and what we see as a totally safe space. So they're not walking through the arches of any other type of environment. So from the beginning, the moment they walk in the door till the moment they walk out, they've been in a queer safe space, referencing our use of that word earlier. And then we're one of only 2 centers, I believe, in the United States that host a public high school within an LGBT center. So we have one of the locations of School of One with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, which we are extremely proud of. Any student in that school district can decide that they want to do School of One at our location. We have about, I believe, 25 students. I think the first year was about maybe 6. And in that case, they come in and they're in a safe space from the beginning of their school day until the end of their school day. And if they want to stay for after school, then they have that as well. And then we have lots of community groups that use our facilities for many different issues.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here this morning. It's a pleasure to be with you all. So the Metro Health System is a safety net hospital, meaning that we treat everyone and we do not turn anyone away regardless of their ability to pay or who they are. So as William mentioned, we were the very first in Cuyahoga County to have a Pride clinic. It is historical. We are at probably close to 15 years now, and our Pride Clinic, which cares for the LGBTQ community, has now extended to the Pride Network, meaning that our patients can go anywhere in the system feeling safe because we are an ally. And that is what we strive to do, is to help all the communities feel safe and welcomed. And we create a culture of psychological safety for our patients and employees. Among the Pride Clinic, exactly, we have a Pride network with many providers that specialize in the care, but we also have a Kids Pride, and that's been around for quite some time as well. So we have a lot of different services. We know that our patients have intersectionalities, and so we specialize in SDOH, social determinants of health, and other special needs that our patients have. As far as our employees, I'm really excited to say that we have 14 EBRGs, Employee Business Resource Groups, and our longest standing has been Pride Alliance, and they are going strong. As a matter of fact, we are hosting our 9th annual Transgender Job Fair tomorrow on our main campus, and we believe we're the only hospital in the county that is also hosting a job fair for that community that we know has been historically highly marginalized, as well as how do we help our employees become culturally safe, psychologically safe, is we require unconscious bias training system-wide. That is a foundational education that all our employees are expected to attend, and we have had great success. We also have safe zone training. So our employees are, how do we take care of our patients in a respectful manner, in a way that they want to be treated? And so safe zone, we talk about preferred name, we talk about pronouns, and we also talk about, because we're a health system, how to care for those patients within the healthcare system, how to chart, how to document, how to greet them. We've done a lot of things in our Epic medical records. We have a preferred name highlighted there, regardless if their legal name has not been changed, so that we respectfully greet them with their preferred name and pronouns. So that's probably one of a few of the many things that we do that I'm proud to share that Metro Health does for the LGBTQ community. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. Dale, would you like to speak to what Cuyahoga County Council is doing? And
Yes, it's a real pleasure to be here and to be part of this effort to promote diversity and inclusion. And the Cuyahoga County Council is the legislative, budgeting, and oversight authority for county government. And the county council passed legislation creating the Human Rights Commission, which creates an office that's available for county residents to bring discrimination complaints. And because the commission's authority only operates in those places where state and federal authorities are not available and do not have jurisdiction, the county commission operates primarily in the area of LGBTQIA cases, and so it provides a resource for county residents with these complaints. Thank you.
thank you, Dale. I think we have another question for Tammy to present.
So reflecting on recent years, what shifts have you observed in public perceptions and attitudes towards queer individuals? And what do you think has contributed to these changes? And this is for everyone.
Jump in. The water's fine.
So I'll start on this, and I think it's been a fairly gradual process, but public perception has changed tremendously in a positive direction. I remember that when I was a child, that anyone who was not heterosexual was just really considered totally deviant and was totally not accepted, and perceptions have changed a whole lot, and prior to the Supreme Court decision on gay marriage, it changed quite quickly on a national basis, and I would note that decision occurred on June 26th, 2015. So we're essentially at the 9th anniversary. So that's something we should all celebrate. And I think that decision both reflected the change in public sentiment, but it also solidified it and brought a broad level national acceptance. We've now moved to the point where many members of the queer community have been elected to public office, and it's not even thought of as unusual anymore. And we have an openly gay person running for county council in this year's election, so that's going to be an interesting race to see how that turns out. So yes, we have a ways to go, but we've made a lot of progress.
Thank you. Karen?
I think young people, perhaps it's to Dale's point where folks of my age, where there was a lot of stigma around being gay, lesbian, transgender. And I think the generation of my kids are sort of like, what is the big deal? And I think, obviously it's more than that. I mean, it's these legislative efforts, it's positive role models on television and in the movies and all of those things. But I do think the young people who are feeling okay to say who they are pushing others to be aware and perhaps to be more accepting.
I would say from a healthcare perspective, we don't just treat a disease, we treat a person. And so we are promoting wellness, and we know that wellness encompasses who you are, right? Who you are. So if we're not respecting you for who you are, then that is not going to promote wellness. And so holistically, we ensure that when we see our patients, that they're feeling safe in our care. And so that's really in my tenure at Metro Health, I've seen the changes, and I've seen the efforts go in to help the community, such as the things that we did in the medical records, such as expanding the Pride Clinic to a Pride network. And so that awareness and that sense of really promoting health equity is meaning to remove disparities, right? And to remove disparities is not just taking care of, again, the illness or whatever, the treatment, they're a care plan, they are a person. And so to help promote the wellness, again, is we look at folks holistically and we accept them for who they are.
So while we've made a ton of progress, and it's just the fact that we're having this panel today is a sign of the progress that has occurred, and the acceptance that exists out there, there's still, as evidenced by what happened in the House here in Ohio this week, a lot of work to be done. So we, if you look at something like Pride in the Clee, which we're very happy to have put on that event earlier this year, we had the largest crowd we've ever had, over 25,000 people as a low estimate, although our esteemed colleague, Mr. Ronayne, said he thought there were about 50,000 people there. So, we'll see. And I said I'd quote him, and I am. So while we saw amazing support from the community at large, the negative voices have gotten louder. I don't think they are louder. I don't think they're more. If you look at data points, if you look at statistics, definitely the support has grown immensely, but the voices they're more comfortable speaking in hateful terms, and there's obviously a direct correlation to what's going on in American politics in general, regardless of the side of the aisle. People are getting more comfortable with their hateful words. I hope that they continue to get more comfortable with their words of love and inclusivity, and are speaking just as loudly in that direction.
Amen. So to piggyback on that, what is an issue in the queer community that's facing people that many people might not know about?
One issue that I've learned by working at the center that I had never really considered is the issue of food insecurity and how it hits the LGBTQ plus community at large, perhaps in a greater way than one would expect. Now, one thing, service that I didn't mention that we do offer in connection with the food bank is that we do have a food bank at the center. We also provide, we have a grocery service as well, so for participants of some of our programs. And the popularity of that program has grown exponentially since COVID. And I don't think that when we think of queer rights, when we think of work-related issues, or we think of bathroom issues, regular life issues are affecting that community or the overall LGBTQ plus community as well. And it's not just about who they love, but just regular life events. And I don't think there's enough focus on that.
William, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm thinking about policies within organizations. And so you mentioned using facilities. We've created a lot of policies to ensure that we are creating an affirming environment. And so, again, within my tenure there, we've promoted policies for employees to use the restrooms, the facilities in which they identify with, and they can use it safely. We've made accommodations for them when they're inpatients. Do they feel safe on the unit? If, you know, we meet their needs. Do they want a single room? We provide that for them. We have a lot of, we have plastic surgeons that do gender-affirming surgeries, hormone therapies, a lot of care for our patients. And so, policies that fall along with how to care for our patients. We even have a preferred name policy that we have to address folks by their preferred name. We've created help guides for employees on how to change their name to a preferred name in their email, in their phone messages across the system. We just recently created that toolbox. And so we hear the voices. You know, we're not perfect. We hear voices of folks that say we need this or we need to move towards this, and we do our best to create those policies to continue for everyone's safety, but especially for that community as well. And so I feel hopeful, at least within the health system, that we are moving in the right direction, that we are in the right direction.
So, I would suggest that stereotyping is still a big problem, and that the people who are not familiar tend to have a single picture of what LGBTQIA people are like, and I would just point out that that orientation and gender are two different things, and that gender runs a continuous range, and when you consider both orientation and gender, you get a very wide variety of different kinds of people that fall within the community, and I think overcoming these stereotype notions and seeing people as individuals is still a problem.
I think from the child welfare perspective, one thing that people don't know is that 32% of our young people identify as queer. We were part of a national study that was done. It's called the Cuyahoga Youth Count. It was anonymous. It was, we offered kids phone numbers or ways to contact them. We had a really good response rate. It was done through the University of Maryland. And it really sort of rocked people because, you know, in California, when we have a study that says 30% of kids are LGBT. Everybody's like, yeah, I mean, of course, it's California, right? But when it's a Rust Belt, Midwest city, people are like, oh, this means something. And so, you know, we are always looking for ways to develop our services, develop our staff. And of course, most the need for affirming foster parents. I would be remiss if I didn't put a shameless plug in, right? Our website is everychildneedsfamily.com. And we would love to have, yes, you can be an employee of the county and be a foster parent, just not a DCFS employee. So that is something I think people don't know, and it is a critical need.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I think some enlightenment just happened, or is it just me? I want to make note that for viewers who are just joining us, we are continuing our conversation that matters. Today we're discussing Pride Month in Cuyahoga County and issues that impact the community. Thank you. And now on to our next question. And this is directed toward Councilman Miller. What strategies can be effective in convincing policymakers to support the LGBTQIA-friendly legislation? And how can voting play a crucial role in advancing LGBTQ rights?
So, in terms of convincing policymakers, I would just ask them to think about what it's like to be trans. It's not easy under the best of circumstances. You don't really know who you are and who you're going to become, and there's just so many uncertainties, and there's so much lack of acceptance out in the community, and I think for some policymakers to be pushing legislation to punish the trans community and make their lives more difficult and use this issue for political purposes. It's one of the most disgusting and inhumane things that's going on in the political world right now, and there's a lot of competition on that. So I think it policymakers just need to put themselves in other people's place and embrace the notion that we're all one family, and if humanity's going to survive, we have to work together and help each other. And regarding voting, I would just key off the numbers that were presented earlier, whether it's 10% or 30%. It's very clear that the LGBTQIA community and their friends and allies is a large enough voting bloc to be a part of, very impactful in the political process, and my advice is just that that everybody votes and that they consider people's views and actions regarding these diversity and inclusion issues in determining who they vote for, and that people not only vote but get involved politically in the political process in other ways, and it can really make a big difference.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. So this message, or I'm sorry, this question is for Karen. Can you please speak about misgendering? And what should allies know about the importance of pronouns and respecting identity?
Sure. Think today about how often your pronouns have been used. When I was introduced, all of us, of course, our names were used, but then, they said she or he, and, it happens countless times. So imagine if you went to the doctor or to see your social worker at DCFS or anywhere, And they kept referring to you or, to me as he. I would be offended. I would think you're not really, like, you don't know who I am. You don't understand me. What, are you talking to the wrong person? Like, and so I think, sometimes to those of us who are cisgender or born with a gender, sex that we identify with, we think this is silly, right? Like, why do I have to say my pronouns are she and her? Because it offers space to other people whose pronouns aren't common ones like she, him. And, when we use people's correct pronouns, it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of being seen. I say, I know who you are. And for all of us, that's our obligation and that's our responsibility. And, for those of us who are cisgender, sharing it is a way to lift it up. Again, just to reiterate, a way to open the door to other people. We wear buttons like this, and it's really important to help people understand why we want to acknowledge who they are.
Thank you, Karen.
And I'd like to add to that, misgendering is going to happen. It happens everywhere. It happens at the LGBT Community Center of Greater Cleveland, ironically enough. Happens every day. Someone in our office uses the wrong pronoun for one of my coworkers. I do it as well. Immediately correct myself if I notice, or accept that correction that's given to me, not make a big deal out of it, acknowledge it, and move on. It's going to happen. It's the matter of either being too apologetic, and then you've put the burden back on the individual whose pronouns you just messed up. And it shouldn't be you sitting there. So I'm sorry, I respect you, I made a mistake, and we move on. The intent wasn't there, but the impact, we're recognizing that there was an impact from that action.
It's great information. I also have a question, and I hear the term a lot, and I think I know what it means, but Karen, can you define cisgender?
Sure. Cisgender is for those of us who were born with a gender or a sex assignment. So I was born as a female, and I feel like a female. So that's cisgender. And I think what's important about all of these terms, I think sometimes people don't want to ask questions, to William's point, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, if I don't know what cisgender means, maybe I shouldn't say anything. I don't know what pansexual is, all of these things. All you have to do is ask someone, who do you have a love interest? Not assuming, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a love interest? Or, my pronouns are she and her. That gives the other person permission to say, my pronouns are they and them. And so we don't have to get caught up in all of the technical stuff, because we just want to see people as humans and keep it simple.
I think people get, to your point, it's uncomfortable. And we were having a discussion before the panel began, and we say you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's how we grow, right? And so I love that my name is Margarita, but my nickname is Margie. So I always introduce myself as, hi, I'm Margarita. My preferred name is Margie, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and ella. So, that just already, helps someone feel safe. And it's about the psychological safety. I totally agree with what Karen and William are saying, is that we're going to step in it, okay? We step in it, we all step in it. But if we recognize it and immediately apologize respectfully, you could see someone's face light up. Actually had a patient in tears because the physician addressed him by the wrong, and he shares this story, and we actually have a video of him sharing the story. And he called the patient by the wrong pronouns, but then he recognized it and immediately corrected. The patient began to cry, and he said, oh my God, he's thinking, oh my God, I really stepped in and I messed up. And the patient said, thank you, doctor, for seeing me for who I am and acknowledging that you made a mistake and it's okay. So we see how our patients are so appreciative of just the effort to try. We're not going to know everything about everyone, but your effort to help them to feel safe and to respectfully inquire it means the world to them.
Thank you. Now we would like to ask Tamika Pearson, HR Manager, to discuss HR services and benefits available to our LGBTQIA employees, plus employees.
Human Resources is here to serve all employees of Cuyahoga County, and we want our members of the queer community to feel comfortable coming to us. Bullying and harassment is not condoned or tolerated. And if you feel or find yourself in need, please reach out to your Human Resources generalist or anyone in Human Resources for assistance. In regards to medical benefits, I am proud to mention Cuyahoga County offers gender-affirming surgery. This includes services such as hormone therapy, psychotherapy, counseling, and support. Please reach out to the benefits department if you have any questions on benefits and what's included. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. Councilman Miller had to leave for another appointment, but we continue our discussion. I was going to ask Margie to talk about the platinum rule versus the golden rule.
Thank you. So we all know, we've heard it historically, you know, the golden rule. You treat everyone the way you want to be treated. At Metro Health, we have the platinum rule, and we gently remind everyone, we treat people the way they want to be treated. We can't assume, and we do as humans, we're human, and we're in our own, sometimes we're wearing our own lens, right? And we see things through our own lens. But to see the other person for who they are is to say, we want to treat you the way you want to be treated. So help me help you, right? How we can respectfully ask, how would you like me to call you? What are your preferred name or preferred pronouns? And so again, that was something that I learned and what I love about the organization. Here's something else that we do that I think should be done more often is if we witness someone. It's not only, yes, we ourselves take accountability for how we make folks feel safe, but we also have to take accountability if we witness someone who's not making someone feel safe, or we perceive it as not a safe conversation or behavior. We have to take the higher ground, and we have to, whether it's privately, checking in with that the person that was potentially harmed or offended, to check in to see if they're okay, but it's also our responsibility to check in with that other person and let them know, I'm concerned, I'm uncomfortable, and this is a success issue, and let me tell you why. And so that's an acronym for CUSS, and so we know that if we pull someone aside and we say we have to cuss with you, we're setting up a framework for that critical and uncomfortable conversation. And so those are the types of resources that are actually tactical skills that we provide folks because they feel uncomfortable, because they don't know how to approach people, because they witness things and then they come and they say, I saw this, I don't know what to do about it. So we're empowering our folks to feel uncomfortable, because you're not going to get comfortable if you don't use those skills. And until we practice ourselves using our own, my preferred name, my preferred pronouns, it becomes natural. If you do it so many times, it becomes a natural thing, and people know it. They can sense it. Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We have a couple minutes left. If you'd like to summarize and make final comments, now's your time. William, would you like to start? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Nick.
I think help colleagues, again, understand that they don't have to understand everything. And that we're not, as organizations or public systems, in our case, expecting people to change their beliefs or values, staff. But we are holding the line and saying we are going to affirm people, we are going to care for them, we're going to meet them where they're at and how they want to be treated. And that doesn't have to impact your life or your values, but it does mean we have to take a strong stand. And that's often a really hard conversation. And it's not easy for people to always get that or to separate their beliefs, perhaps, with their professional obligations. And that's a constant and ongoing conversation that, as leaders, and we lead from the position we're in, everybody has to do that. Simple things, use pronouns in your signature line. It creates awareness. And it says you're free to share with me. And, attend pride events. You don't have to march. You can stand on the sidelines and cheer. You can stand on the sidelines and watch and try to understand. But there are a variety of things that we can do. Policies in our organization, look at them with the LGBTQ lens. One example in our organization, just very quickly, is we used to have a policy that when kids came into foster care, they had to get a clothing voucher that matched their gender. I suppose we were afraid that, somebody, a foster adoptive parent or a relative, would use it for their own children, right? So we made this rule that you had to turn it in. Is this a friendly, LGBT-friendly policy? Nope. So we changed it. You have to turn in receipts for the clothes you bought for the kid in your care. And that is something simple, but it's important to look at our policies with that lens.
I think I would stress that acceptance is way more important than people realize. And just because someone has a particular preference, an orientation, a gender identity, it doesn't make that whole person. That is just a component. And so while we're focused on this in this discussion, and for that purpose, I happen to be a bisexual male. It doesn't make it's one little minor component in my day in and day out existence of getting up in the morning and getting my kid off to school, and or not now, it's summertime, so getting the dogs out on a walk and thinking about what's in front of my day, the challenges that I may have. I think people would appreciate it. No, I would, where that's just, okay, that's an aspect of your personality or of your daily existence, but it's not the only thing that makes you who you are. And so I think that is something that definitely would have stressed, because we do get down into the minutia and sort of the details, and then we also, as a society, tend to, want to group people together. There are times where it's very comfortable to be grouped with like people, but not to be identified that that's who you are. Oh, that is the gay person, or that is the queer person, or that is, whatever, that in our organization, in our club, on our floor, on our street, classroom, whatever. It's just a component of their life. And sort of encouraging people to think about that when engaging your coworkers, when engaging your colleagues who might happen to be members of this community, or recognizing that they may have someone in their family who's a member of this community, that it's just one small aspect of what it means to be human and interact.
And to piggyback off of what you both said, I want to go back to what Karen talked about, beliefs. And I have many folks coming up and, saying, but I politically believe this, or this is my personal belief, or my religious or spiritual belief. And I look at them and I tell folks, even when I'm speaking in audiences, has nothing to do. This is not about you. Really, if you think about it, this is not about you. And think about when you go out in public and you're in a restaurant, if you're in the doctor's office, if you go to Walmart in the line, how do you want to be treated? It's no different. We are very frank about biases. We all have biases. So we have to get out of ourselves and respect the other person for who they are. You can have you can have any political belief you want, you can have any religious belief you want. I love that you said you're treating each other as human beings. We are all people. While there's so many dimensions of diversity and we embrace that and we are inclusive, we also must treat people as individuals for who they are. Just like we want to be treated for who we are and accepted for who we are, we need to extend that to the folks that in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. So as a reminder, Metro Health is sponsoring a transgender job fair tomorrow from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and this will be held on the main campus in the Ramo Camp Atrium.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I pronounced that correctly. On behalf of Cuyahoga County's Human Resources DEI Committee, we'd like to truly thank our panelists for joining us today. This was a very empowering conversation, and we will put a ... at the end of it, and we will continue the conversation. So thank you very much.
Evan.